Here before us is a scene of majestic splendour, spreading itself across the wide panorama of the Brisbane River as Her Royal Majesty the Queen and His Royal Highness Prince Philip sail into the city of Brisbane aboard the Royal Yacht Britannia on their visit to our state of Queensland. And what a sight it is, flanked by the little boats with their gleaming white sails against a perfect background. The Britannia moves steadily and regally upriver, watched by thousands of spectators lining the river banks and welcoming Her Most Gracious Majesty with wonderful sincerity. But at this moment, it's the little boats beyond all doubt taking the honours in providing the royal couple with a truly, typically Queensland welcome. This is Brisbane's second welcome, not only to Her Majesty, but also to the Royal Yacht Britannia. For it was in 1956 when this graceful ship sailed up the Brisbane River for the first time. From here, we can see the Queen moving about on the stern of the ship, wearing a brilliant red costume. Following the Britannia is the destroyer escort ship Anzac, which accompanied the Royals from Sydney and which early this morning answered the 21-gun salute fired at Port Lytton by an establishment of the Royal Australian Artillery. And here, on this glorious sunny day, the Britannia moves slowly into her berthing position at Newstead Wharf, where a huge cheering crowd has assembled to meet Her Majesty and her husband. From the top of the mast, we can see the personal flag of Her Majesty, designed especially for the royal tour in Australia. The excitement is gradually building up, and the little craft have virtually taken control of the waterways. The Anzac is far behind the royal vessel now, and it's apparent that the small craft are only interested in the Britannia and getting as close to her as they can. But at last, the Anzac berths in her position near the Britannia. And now His Excellency the Governor, Colonel Sir Henry Abel Smith and Lady May have arrived at Newstead Wharf and are boarding the royal yacht to pay an official call upon Her Majesty and His Royal Highness. They'll remain aboard until the Queen is ready to disembark, when they'll receive her officially at the foot of the brow. Back on the river, the conglomeration of tugs, passenger boats, pleasure cruisers, yachts, in fact almost anything that can float, has moved closer to the Britannia and her escort ship Anzac, and the noise is really fantastic on this very happy morning. One can only estimate in this case that there must be at least 300 to 400 boats on the river, hooting their sirens and making an absolute whoopee of a noise. And those that haven't got sirens, well, it's the sailors themselves hooting. And the crowds on the banks too, whistling, cheering, applauding. Combined, these noises are invigorating and very warming indeed. The official car of the Premier of Queensland, the Honourable GFR Nicklin, MM, MLA, and his sister Mrs. Lind, arrives at Newstead Wharf. The Premier and Mrs. Lind will be presented to Her Majesty aboard the Royal Yacht Britannia. Led by their band, the 3rd Battalion of the Royal Australian Regiment march into position on the wharf in their ceremonial winter uniforms to form the Royal Guard of Honour to be inspected later by Her Majesty the Queen. Excitement reaches a climax as His Excellency and Lady May leave the Britannia and come ashore, followed by Mrs. Lind and the Premier. And here she is, Her Majesty the Queen, and her husband, His Royal Highness, Prince Philip. Having now been received officially by the Governor, the Queen and her husband, Prince Philip, proceed to the Guard of Honour awaiting Her Majesty. Petite and very lovely, the Queen now wears a soft blue throughout, and completely toned right through, including the tiny floral hat she wears. As you can see, her accessories are in white, including the parasol to protect herself from the sun. The Queen is also wearing her famous 3 strands of pearls. The anthem played, and Her Majesty's personal flag now broken, the Queen proceeds to inspect the Royal Guard of Honour, escorted by the Guard Commander, Major Maloney. Among the party accompanying Her Majesty on this inspection is the General Officer commanding Northern Command, Major General M.F. Brogan, OBE, and the Equerry-in-Waiting. The royal salute is given as the Queen and the Prince board the shining maroon-coloured Rolls-Royce, which is to take them through the city to the Brisbane City Hall. And now they're on their way. From these positions in the city, our cameras capture the royal progress to the City Hall. Escorted by the incredibly smart mounted police, the Queen looks a charming figure shaded by her parasol and waving to the chief.